Major funding for Theater Corner is provided by UC San Diego. And by the Westgate Hotel, La Jolla Alcohol Research Incorporated, Signet Theater, and viewers like you. Thank you. Hi, welcome to Theater Corner. I'm your host, Michael Taylor. As a lifelong theater enthusiast and a board member for one of the top theaters in the country, I've seen firsthand the positive effects that diversity and inclusion can have on the stage and the theater seats. This interview series was created as a way to share my passion for theater and promote diverse voices throughout the national theater scene. We sit down with some of the top professionals in the entertainment industry to discuss training, careers, advice for young actors, and how to make theater matter to more people. Today I met up with actor and comedian Mark Christopher Lawrence and the artistic director of the African American Shakespeare company, L. Peter Callender. Mark Christopher Lawrence is recognizable from his 5-season stint as Big Mike in the NBC series Chuck, and has made appearances in the films such as Terminator 2 and The Pursuit of Happyness. We had a great conversation about his career, transitioning from stage to screen, and how he killed a guy with comedy. So, silence your cell phones, folks. You're entering Theater Corner. Welcome to Theater Corner, brother.
Thanks for having me.
You are very welcome to be here. I'm really quite excited to sit down with you, a local San Diego talent.
Yeah, I moved here in '99.
You spend a lot of time on stage and theater, and I'm curious. So why theater? What speaks to you about theater? Why is that?
Well,
so
that's
important?
the first love. I mean, with theater, it's like that's where you learn to act. That's where you grow. That's my first professional play was at Los Angeles Theater Center. Antony and Cleopatra. Rosalind Cash was in it. John Goodman was in it. Mitch O'Ryan, Kyle Secor, all these really strong actors. CCH Pounder, and I was still in college. And my acting in class took a leap because I was doing this play. Because all of a sudden I had to keep up with these actors who were beasts. So the thing about theater that really draws me is that not only am I learning every day, it feeds that beast in there, because when you're doing TV, it's very surface. It's formulaic.
Right.
Sitcoms, formulaic. So you want to do something that's deeper. And I tend to do very dramatic plays because I do a lot of comedy in TV. But the thing I love about theater is that right now if you suck.
There's no question.
The audience will let you know, so you can come back tomorrow and try to fix it.
Right.
With TV and film, it's like you're hoping the editor, does the best he can to make you look better.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And so you've done, like you mentioned, Shakespeare and lots of August Wilson.
August Wilson, yeah, and a lot of new creations. I love August Wilson, man. August Wilson is such a brilliant writer. I mean, I always tell people, if you just say the words, you're 80% there.
Right.
Just say it the way he wrote it, you'll be fine.
Right. There's some long monologues in some of those pieces.
I played Boy Willie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in piano lesson, and Boy Willie had a 10-page run where it was basically a monologue that was interrupted a few times by one line. And so I just memorized it as a monologue and hope people jumped in when they were supposed to jump in.
All right.
And it was tough. I mean, it was like out of 7 or 8 pages, he had the lion's share on 82 pages.
Jeez.
And it was brutal. I mean, last thing that I did before I went to bed, first thing I did when I woke up was run through those lines.
In terms of television, what people really recognize you as Big Mike from Chuck.
Yeah.
And that was your longest running TV gig.
Yeah, we did 5 years, 5 seasons.
Wow, that's strong. What is that experience like?
It was interesting in that it was a very large cast. I mean, we were 10 strong, serious regulars. And because of that, you're hoping that you go to work and everybody is nice. And we were blessed, man. Everybody was great. Cast, crew, everybody. So it was fun to go to work. Yeah. Like I did an episode of Designing Women. And there was so much tension on that set. And there were only the 3 women and Meshack Taylor.
Really?
And so I said to Meshack, it's like you can just feel it, it was culpable. And I said to Meshack, I said, how do you work like this? He says, I just try to stay out of their way.
But your very first television experience was Hill Street Blues.
Yeah, first audition.
First audition.
Right. Here's the story. I was at USC as an actor. I was at USC on a debate scholarship, and one of my debate coaches had a friend who was an agent. She came to see me in a play at USC, gave me a card. 2 days later, I go and visit her. She signs me. I don't have any money, completely broke. So she pays to have a guy take pictures for me. The pictures come back. First picture she sent out was for Hill Street Blues. I get the audition. I go in, do the audition, go back home, and it's already on the machine. I have the job.
Wow.
So then for the next year, I'd rush home and check my machine, and nothing.
Oh, really?
But it was the best thing that could ever happen to me because now I go, I do it, and just let it go because I'm not going to get them all.
Right.
And so even when I'm in a slump, it's like, something will come. I'll be fine.
Man, this acting is not for the faint of heart.
It is not for the faint of heart. I mean, I know some really strong actors who stopped because they couldn't take the roller coaster.
Jeez.
But that's why I do a lot of other stuff. I do, voiceover and commercials and, TV and film and stage because you can bounce back into that. Stand up, keeps the bills paid.
Wow. And so in terms of film, here's a brother that was on Terminator 2.
First big movie. And I've said this many times, that every time I've tried to do something else in the industry or out of the industry, it's like because I get frustrated. Terminator 2 was like in my first 5 years. So all my friends from debate in college were clerking for judges and are either at major law firms. And I was like, just sort of meandering along as this under 5 actor. And I was like, man, maybe I made a mistake. And I had like a 3-month period where I didn't work. So I saw in the LA Weekly, there was learn to deal cards. So I was like, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go and take this class, learn how to deal cards. I'll get placed in like Monaco or Vegas or somewhere, and that'll be my career. Because they said, 6 figures a year. We have placement. Da 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 da. So I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And this is why I believe that God truly puts you where He wants you to be. I go and audit the first class. You can audit for free. If you like it, plop down $4.99 for the class. So I'm sitting there in the first class. Before the first break, the doors open, some suits come in, shut the class down.
Oh, wow.
Apparently they were laundering money through this class. And then a week later, I was booked for Terminator 2.
Wow, my goodness.
Yeah.
And that experience?
Fantastic. James Cameron, watching him as a film director was brilliant. I mean, it was the only time that I've found myself on set all the time. Because usually I say, okay, you got to go and lay down because you never know when they're going to call you back in. But I was just watching him. The way he worked, he was so meticulous. There's a scene where I did all the work in the hospital scenes in the movie, and there's a scene where we're chasing Linda Hamilton down this hallway, and he had 6 cameras set up. And as we run down the hallway, he had a Steadicam. This is the first time I'd ever seen a Steadicam, and the Steadicam operator was trying to keep up with her running. And then he said to us, he says, "Hey, you guys got to keep up with Linda." It's like, well, our characters are called burly attendants. Linda Hamilton's been working out 6 days a week, sometimes twice a day. And so, but he was so meticulous about every little thing, and it shows on screen, because he has a vision the way he wants to see it, and he gets it.
So Mark Christopher Lawrence, the stand-up comedian. You're extremely funny. I mean, that's not an easy thing to do.
Well, here's the thing about comedy. Just like acting, you don't know what the audience has been through. So as you're doing your bit, you gotta have to gauge what's going on with them and what's going on with you. I happen to be one of the few comics who actually has killed a guy with jokes.
Oh, really?
I was doing a charity event in La Jolla at a mansion, and 13 minutes into my 45-minute set, the host comes running back up and says, "Mark, I'm sorry," and he takes the mic. So right away I'm thinking, did I say something that was off color for the charity? And no. He says, "Is there a doctor in the house?" That night, there happened to be 4 doctors in the house. One was the guy who set up all the ERs here in San Diego. They go to work on this guy. What happened is he's laughing so hard, he has a heart attack and dies.
Oh, my.
They go to work on him. He wakes up giggling.
Oh, really?
These jokes are powerful.
Oh, man. And needless to say, you killed that night.
Killed. In fact, we're still standing on stage, me and the host, and I said, "See, Josh, this is why you hired me. I killed." He starts laughing. I said, "Too soon?" He goes, "Yeah, but funny."
Too soon. Tell me about your first stand-up experience.
Open mic, Comedy Store, LA, up on Sunset Boulevard. This is where everybody is. I sit in the original room waiting for my turn. I'm like 9th or 10th on the list. And 2 people before I go on, Robin Williams just pops in.
Oh, jeez.
And so everybody gets bumped. He does 45 minutes. So I'm supposed to be on, at about 10:30. I end up going on at like midnight. And the guy that went right after him just tanked. And I was like, oh man, this is gonna be rough. And so then the next guy got a few laughs, and I was like, okay, I should be all right. So I go up and do my 3 minutes, and it was funny. And Louis Anderson said to me when I came off stage, he says, "You got something there, kid. Keep writing." And that was the beginning of it.
It's the difference between doing theater on stage and stand-up. What would that be?
I think the difference is that when you're doing theater, you're generally speaking somebody else's words. When you're doing stand-up, you're speaking your own words. However, it's still a character. For me, it's like I don't go on stage, just strictly as Mark Christopher Lawrence. I think what happens is there's a heightened version of me.
I see.
That sometimes will say stuff that I wouldn't necessarily say. Because I think me as just a regular everyday person, I have a bit of a filter. On stage, maybe not.
So, Mark Christopher Lawrence, before you go, we have a lot of upcoming artists watching this show. What advice would you give to up-and-coming new young artists?
I would say to young artists, train. There's nothing more important than honing your craft. And a lot of young folks just want to jump right into TV or right into commercials or film or whatever. And it's like, you look at the people who've been around for years and years and years. It's because they have theater backgrounds, because they're doing theater, and that's where you get a lot of strength and training, craft honing. They keep working at the craft. I tell them, I said, look, if you go to an audition and you see me sitting there and you haven't trained, and we're reading for the same role, you're not getting a job.
Here you go.
And that's a fact, because people are trained. So you need to be ready.
Next, the Theater Corner crew and I drove up to San Francisco to visit the African American Shakespeare Company and to sit down with their artistic director, L. Peter Callender. We talked about Shakespeare, Black actors in theater, and an interesting interpretation on what it means to break a leg. Welcome to Theater Corner, brother.
Well said. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be in your company.
You are so welcome to be here, and this interview has actually been a long time coming.
Yes.
But this is quite an occasion for us to get together, because this is a special play. This is one of my favorites.
It's one of mine too, man.
You're playing Richard III, the African American Shakespeare Company, which you are the artistic director of. You're coming behind Anthony Sher, Kevin Spacey, Laurence Olivier, Al Pacino, Denzel Washington, Alec Guinness, George C. Scott. I mean, this is a long list of Richard III's. How are you approaching this part?
Well, I look at it this way: they're all coming before L. Peter Callender.
I love it.
No, man. Look, in the theater, we say break a leg. Right? We say break a leg as a good luck thing. Break a leg, going on stage, or before you go on stage, break a leg. And there's a lot of scholarship about what that means, where it comes from. Break a leg as to take your bow, breaking your leg as you bow. But the best thing, the best example I've heard of break a leg was the word legend, L-E-G, right? Legend, L-E-G-E-N-D. And break a legend, right? Meaning be better than the people who played it before you.
I see.
And that motivates me as an actor. So it's always a challenge, and it's always a motivation for me, and I guess any other actor doing Shakespeare. There are only 36 of his plays over 400 years, so we all do them. To bring something about me, to bring something different to the role. So I'm hoping from tonight, opening night, that audiences will say, wow, I've never heard that line delivered in that way before, or that gesture before, or this scene performed in that way before. So that's what we are hoping for in our production.
Everyone's going to want to see how Richard III's deformity is going to be presented. I mean, Anthony Sherry did with his sticks, and Ian McKellen, one-hand performance, Kevin Spacey with the brace on the leg, and I mean, it was cocked up and he was on his toe. How is Peter going to bring Richard's deformity?
It's a really good question. It is all about that presentation, right? It's about how he thinks of himself. I remember seeing a production of Elephant Man years ago with David Bowie on Broadway. And the Elephant Man is this majorly deformed human being, big head, big arms, big, et cetera, et cetera. And David Bowie is a beautiful specimen of a human being. And it was placed in the audience's mind to see all of his deformities. And David Bowie just stood on stage with all of his beauty and splendor. And it was the audience's imagination that took over to realize all of his deformities. Now, having said that, our Richard, he is deformed. There is a hunchback. My left arm, my left side of my body is atrophied.
Okay.
So my left leg doesn't bend. My left arm is basically unmoved. It doesn't do this. It's there. My fingers move. But I am performing basically with the right side of my body.
I see.
And my head, which, I think after this closes, I'll probably need a good Epsom salts bath and a masseuse. But I played Richard before, 16 years ago. And when I played him that time, I looked at the way we see ourselves. Other people may look at us and say, well, look at that, look at that, look at that. But when the way we see ourselves is beautiful, handsome, tall, debonair. And he saw himself as that until the play progressed. And the burdens of being king, the burdens of his faults, the burdens of his villainy weighed him down. So by the end of the play, he actually broke free from his seeing himself as this beautiful person and literally became more and more and more deformed and crooked by the end of the show. So by the time he says, a horse, my kingdom for a horse, he was literally crooked and bent and out of shape because all of his beauty was taken away from him. So there are different ways to do this. And I love and I appreciate every actor that tackles this role. It is a monster of a role to play. And anyone that takes this up, I want to go see.
And how do you deal with such a demanding role? I mean, this is not only physically, but emotionally demanding.
It becomes a part of you, Michael. It does, man. I am, every rehearsal, I try to put myself in a place that is not judging myself because we are doing live theater. And sometimes a word may be dropped, a line, but I've become so entranced in this man's psyche, in what Shakespeare has given him. And I have to enjoy my villainy, his villainy. I've got to enjoy it. I've got to savor it. I've got to look at the audience and say, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. And I want you guys to follow me. And I want you to aid me in what I'm doing. And we're going to have a lot of fun doing it. Watch. And I think the audience is like, ooh, Wow, thanks. Little old us, you know?
What I find interesting is the natural tendency to see someone perhaps with a deformity is to show pity, to feel pity for them. But Richard himself, and I'll paraphrase it, but he says, "Why should anyone pity me? I don't even pity myself."
I myself find in myself no pity to myself, yeah.
Right, right. And there are some really strong, terrifying parallels between him and 45 that comes up consistently through this play, actually.
Oh, many. There are so many. I say some lines in this play, brother, that I think are spoken behind closed doors amongst the followers of our current administration, the leader of our current administration. I mean, I say a line, ere you were queen, I, and your husband king, I was a pack horse in his great affairs, a weeder out of his proud adversaries, a liberal rewarder of his friends. To royalize his blood, I shed mine own. I mean, what numbers of players then and now who have been fired or who are still there or who will be fired could possibly be saying those lines? You know, before he was king, I helped him. Now look what he's done to me, right? He says things like, either be patient and entreat me fair, or I will do such and such and such and such and such. Talking about I'm not being treated fairly.
Right.
Where did we hear that?
Right.
So there are so many of those parallels today. And I think with many Shakespeare plays, I don't think you could, the writer, the time that Shakespeare wrote these plays, it is so poignant. I cannot do a Shakespeare play today that I find does not reach into our political realm, our emotional realm, our economical realm. There's so many parallels throughout Shakespeare that we cannot do a Shakespeare. I'm doing Othello in a year. My gosh, you know, black man falling in love and marrying a young white girl. Dare he barbecue in Lake Merritt?
Right.
It's like how we are doing things in today that Shakespeare wrote about so many years ago, and it's still so poignant.
That actually answers a bit of my one question I had is why Shakespeare? You've done over 27 Shakespearean performances. Why Shakespeare? And the fact that it's so relevant is one reason.
That's one reason, of course. I love language. I was born in the West Indies. I'm well read in the historical plays, in the classics. I love the classics. And there's something about this man's writing that moves me, that I find, and I don't know where it is, it's a blessing, thank you, that I understand. That I get it. It fits in my mouth, it fits in my body, it fits in my heart. I understand it, I don't fear it. And Shakespeare, no matter which of his plays, no matter which of his characters, you play and you always find a bit of yourself in it. No matter what the character is, it could be from a porter in the Scottish play, or a king, or a maiden, or a duke, or a villain. You find that person inside of you. So the parallels to our current life and Shakespeare's works, this is why I love the plays. This is why we do them. This is why the African American Shakespeare Company is here, to allow actors of color to play these roles. Because when I was coming up in New York, there were reviewers and some teachers who actually said black actors should never do Shakespeare. We don't have the technique. We don't have the wherewithal. We can't speak those words. And one of the reasons why I'm here today, working with Sherry Young and working with the African American Shakespeare Company, is to dispel that, to let everyone know that we are absolutely and powerfully capable of doing anything, certainly Shakespeare. And having done over 26 of his plays myself and acted and directed a few, I'm here with Sherry Young and the African American Shakespeare Company to say, we're here and we're not going anywhere.
Whenever I get to theater OG, if you will,
man. Wow. Yeah.
to sit in this seat, since we have so many up-and-coming actors out there watching Theater Corner, what type of advice would you have for those young actors?
As a young actor coming up, I would always say study hard, work hard. Mediocrity does not exist in theater. My favorite quote is perfection is unattainable, but if you chase perfection, you might catch excellence. That's Vince Lombardi. And that's a quote that I live by every day. Always, always chase excellence in theater, because that's all we have. We have our reputation in theater. Work hard, always be on time, always be prepared, right? Your reputation is all you have in this business. Work hard to maintain that. Your body is your instrument. Encase it, protect it. Make sure that you do well, that you speak well, that you don't put anything in your body that can harm your body, because this is your instrument. Your teeth, your mouth, your face, your arms, your legs, your everything, your breath. Your breath is your inspiration. Be inspired by it and use it, so that when you get on stage, there's nothing in your way, so that you're open to receive everything that your fellow actors give you, your director gives you, the playwright gives you, and certainly those people sitting in those red seats give you, right? Because you have to be ready and open. So that's my advice.
A horse, my kingdom for a horse. A quote from Shakespeare's Richard III. A production that has continually captivated me. The unique experiences that these incredible performers illustrate never fail to dazzle me. So thank you for tuning in. I'm Michael Taylor, and we'll see you on the next episode of Theater Corner.
Support for this program comes from the KPBS Explore Local Content Fund, supporting new ideas and programs for San Diego.
Watch the full interviews and more at www.theatercorner.org.